I was kind of telling him like, oh yeah, there's other Kickstarters that have done 1 million, that have done 500,000, whatever. He's like, dude, you just did $100,000. Like, what is wrong with you, right? And it kind of $40,000 came from Kickstarter. That money came literally from people browsing on Kickstarter emailing people out on your behalf. Like, I did nothing to bring those in. In terms of regrets, I wish I did more Kickstarters. I wish I started before. I wish every single product I did was a Kickstarter. A lot of people think it's a failure if I only raised $2,000. It's a failure if no, man, that's still $2,000. Like, I had to tell myself that even at 100,000, it's still 100,000. Go for it. You have literally nothing to lose. If your Kickstarter doesn't raise funding, you don't lose anything.
Welcome back to the FBA Challenge, an Amazon FBA case study where I challenge my 7-figure seller friend to launch this completely new product and see if it's still possible to sell on Amazon in 2021. Every step of the way is documented on this channel, and as part of this series, we interview professionals and sellers who have done what we are trying to do so that we can learn from their successes and their failures. And today, this is one of those videos. The FBA Challenge is powered by Getida. If you're not using Getida, you're literally leaving money on the table. They plug into your seller account and get you money back that Amazon owes you. They only get paid when you get paid. So it's a no-brainer because it's free money. Go to Getida.com/FBA Challenge and use the code FBA Challenge to get your first $500 reimbursed for free. This case study is also made possible thanks to Thrasio, Ping Pong Payments, and our other sponsors that you see right here. Please check out their links and discounts in the description below if you want to support this case study, and enjoy this video. Peace. So I'm here with Matt Costin. He's known for selling on Amazon, but in a different way. He raises money for his launches and launches his products using Kickstarter. So I found it to be very cool because I might be working on a project that involves Kickstarter. So I want to learn how you do it, Matt. I want us to also teach people who might be interested in learning how to do Kickstarter. I find it very interesting because you could be able to raise enough money to launch the product without you having to put any or a lot of money yourself. So there's a lot less risk, and it's also a launch strategy, right? So yeah. How do you do this? Teach me.
Yeah, so I mean, first off, a lot of people ask me like, Matt, why are you using Kickstarter? And to me, for any product that you're customizing, even a little bit, Kickstarter is the perfect platform to launch. And there's a few reasons. Number one, you're actually building a buyer's list. So you actually get people from the Kickstarter platform that are giving you money. So you're raising money. But on top of that, you're also making a kick-ass product because all the feedback that you get during the Kickstarter and even sometimes before leads you to develop something that people actually want.
Yeah, so instead of having to improve it later, you improve it before you even launch it, right?
Exactly.
You get the feedback.
And that's the name of the game, even on Amazon or anywhere. Like, make something that people want, and you'll find that sales actually come much easier. So under my belt, I've done 3 actually crowdfunding campaigns. So 2 on Kickstarter, 1 on Indiegogo. I've had products. So yeah, I've done a lot of launches on Kickstarter. But in terms of sales, I've had one of those, the one on Indiegogo. It did over $1 million in sales on Amazon. First, one of the crowdfunding ones did 10,000, the second one did 20,000, and then the third one did 100,000. So what you'll find is once you get into this game of crowdfunding, it's kind of like a snowball that just keeps going. Your next one and your next one just keeps going bigger and bigger.
Awesome. Are you comfortable sharing those products, or are they secret?
No. So like I said, I probably share more than I should, but yeah, throughout the presentation, I'll share with you all the products basically.
Nice.
You'll have everything.
Nice. Let's do it.
Yeah. So when you break it down into the 4 phases, so the first phase, product development phase, right? So you actually have to make something. You don't want to just grab something from Alibaba that kind of already exists. You do have to kind of modify it a little bit and it's against the rules to kind of like just make something that already kind of exists. You have to modify it, but it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You can actually just make simple modifications to make your own product. Typically the first step is creating a prototype. So one of the ones I've done is this passport wallet. And the big differentiator with it was just that it had an extra flap or document wing, I call it, to hold your boarding pass, some money, whatever it might be. And I got the idea actually while I was traveling, and in the hotel room, I just had random colored, I don't know why this hotel had random colored paper, but they did. And I was able to cut it out. I took a few pictures of it, sent it to the manufacturer, and they're like, yeah, we can make this. And,
is that the first photo on the left?
Yeah, the one on the left where you see the yellow and the pink. I don't know why there's yellow and pink paper in the hotel room, but there was. And and this went on to be a $22,000 Kickstarter. One of the more recent ones, I mean, this one goes into a lot of detail, but I mean, I'm not a product designer by trade at all. Like I don't do 3D drawings or anything fancy. You don't need to. All you have to do is really like a flat sketch. You can pay someone on Fiverr. I paid someone about $20, $30 to do the proper kind of 3D modeling drawings to get it manufactured. And you're off to the races with it. So this one, for example, was just a flat design I did. This was the one that it's called the Talent Tag, and it ended up doing about 100,000 once it was launched on Kickstarter somewhat
That's
recently.
crazy, 100,000.
And all from a simple.
So did you
sketch.
draw this, or did you draw it on paper and then someone did this?
So I drew this. So this is just me. I use Adobe Illustrator, but you can use Canva. I've seen people do prototype drawings with PowerPoint, right? All you got to do is come up with some dimensions and, send it to the manufacturer. And if you're working with a good manufacturer, they can make it a reality from literally just nothing, which is pretty crazy. If you have trouble making a prototype, look on Facebook Marketplace. There's people locally that will actually 3D print stuff for you too. And just so you know, like a prototype is actually required to do the Kickstarter, but obviously you want one too, so you can come up with some pretty good images and video. What's interesting, like this particular prototype is actually pretty terrible. If you look into the detail of it, this was the first prototype, and you can see how it's super rough, right? Like it's not even attached at the bottom, like it's kind of brutal. And then for the photos, I just got them, you just have to think creatively. It's like, okay, let's literally double-sided tape the front on it so that it looks decent when you're doing videos and pictures. And that's it. That's your prototype. And
is that 3D printed?
So this one was made by the manufacturer, so it is metal. This particular one was stainless steel, but super rough, right? Like it's not very refined. Final product, a little bit more elegant, right? But very close to the prototype, right? It's no big deal there. Yeah. So basically, create that prototype, get some pictures, and then that's all you need. Like that's your baseline to start the Kickstarter. Same idea, for example, for the passport holder. That one took a little bit longer. I found out that Chinese passports are actually a different size than Canadian, so there was a lot of back and forth on that. But eventually, we got it right. Took a little bit. And something that I find that people don't use as much as they should. I don't know, Samar, have you ever used the RFQ thing from Alibaba?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so this is basically, I mean, you get a lot of spam, but you basically post something that says, hey, I'm looking for XYZ, and you actually get suppliers kind of competing for your business. There's a lot of like riffraff that comes with that, but yeah, you can sort through. I've actually found like 2 really good suppliers using that.
Interesting.
And then even once you get the prototype, you want to start getting that initial feedback. So stuff I'd be asking is like, what problem do you think this solves? How do you think it can be improved? Funny side story, at one of these Amazon conferences, and again, like I share my products because I genuinely want to hear what people think. And there was one particular person I met just randomly, and she was asking me about the product. She came up with like a little tweak, a little idea that I had never thought of before. I actually implemented it. I mean, I don't have the hard data on how much my sales increased because of it, but I'm pretty positive that one little conversation made me over 5 figures in sales just from someone with a random tweak, like a stranger that had anything about the product.
So where do you get this feedback from? You mentioned Amazon conference, or I'm guessing random people, or do you have like a specific audience?
Yeah, so if you have the prototype and you don't have the audience, that's where it gets, that's where you have to get a little bit more creative. But literally anyone who would listen to it, I mean, obviously you want to go after your target market, but it's getting the feedback from friends and family. Mind you, there's the bias of, obviously they're not going to tell you that your baby's ugly, right? It doesn't happen. But whoever's willing to lend an ear. And what's important about this is the people that you ask for feedback now are people that you're going to add or hopefully add to your list later, right? So whoever you can speak with, whether it's Facebook groups. So say if you're making, we were talking earlier, like, a Tesla accessory for the car, there's thousands of Facebook groups about Tesla that you can kind of hop in and start a conversation. So there's no limit to where you can just start talking to.
Oh, nice. So you go to where the community is and you go like, hey, I have this idea in mind. I'd love to get someone's feedback on it. And that's how you
100%.
build your initial audience to launch the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, and then once you do that, I mean, obviously follow the group's rules. Don't spam, but you know, and then once people comment or they start giving you feedback on whatever post, private message them, right? Be like, hey, would you be down for more questions? Like, hey, here's a link to my survey, that sort of thing.
Amazing. Yeah, that was my biggest thing that I was worried about, because we want to do Kickstarter for this next project, but we have no audience for the product. So I was like, I know Kickstarter works, but you need someone to go and pledge and like pay money. So where are these people coming from? This partly answers it, I guess.
It's a good start. I mean, also, I mean, friends, you're going to lean on friends and family for your first one as well too, right? Like the bigger Kickstarters happen after you've put a few under your belt, and then then your audience is your previous audience, right? It just snow grows bigger like that. Something else, if you actually want feedback, and I've done this, and I don't see a lot of people, actually anyone on Amazon really doing this, so this is kind of cool. But in the software space, I also work in software, and in the software space, they do user testing all the time, which is basically like, so you show someone your app, they video record the person using the app, and they speak out loud. So you hear them, you know, poking around, is this cool, that cool, right? So I've actually used these kind of apps to ask people, hey, what do you think of this? You show them a video, show them a picture. I mean, heck, you could even show them your listing. And all of a sudden you're getting this feedback. It's almost like a focus group for the stuff that you're creating, right? One of them is just usertesting.com. They're kind of expensive. Another one is UserBob, not as expensive. So just some things that you can test out there.
Okay. Would these people be interested in helping with the Kickstarter later?
So with these, you don't typically get the customer data. So, I mean, probably not, but these are really good for getting feedback on the actual product itself, images, like what resonates with them, that sort of thing. I mean, maybe, there might be a way to get in touch with them too.
Yeah. Have you tried PickFu?
Yeah, so PickFu is great. So that's like A/B split testing images and that sort of thing. So absolutely. What's cool with this is you're also getting, instead of just the one-liner that you get with PickFu, with this you get like full insight into what people are thinking. So it's kind of like, I've done this with a few of my listings, and there were some common threads where someone was like, oh, that particular, so on the luggage, so this one I can tell you, like on the luggage tag, the name, like you'd have to know the luggage tags, but basically there was a common thread about the spacing of how the name was, where they had to put their name in or something. And what was interesting, it was my 3D renders that actually on the listing that were wrong. In real life, the product was better than what they were seeing. And it didn't even click to me, because you get the curse of knowledge. When you're working with your product, you don't notice the details anymore once you're doing it. So super cool to be able to optimize stuff with something, with another person's perspective. Once you kind of got your prototype and you're ready to go, just before you launch, like all of the work on Kickstarter really happens before launch, right? Like all of the major things. So the pre-launch stage is when you are collecting those emails. So once you've gotten feedback on your initial prototype, whatever it might be, get people into that email list. And these people are going to be the ones that kind of launch your product and make it ultimately a success. Tons of email clients out there. I mean, you know, you've all heard of MailChimp. One of the ones I use that I think is like the most underrated tool in marketing in general is called Ontraport. And it's typically used more for like digital sales kind of people that sell like courses and that sort of thing. But it works phenomenally well when you're doing physical products as well. And I'll show you some examples of what I was able to create with it.
What does it do?
So the main part is emails. So it's kind of like it takes your email lists, you can tag people, segment people, that sort of thing. But then think of like ClickFunnels, put into that as well. Payment processing, put in that as well. Landing pages. You can even build, I mean, you can go so far as actually build kind of apps and stuff. You could even build your own flow. So there's like ManyChat for automating, you know, obviously like whatever you're doing on Amazon. You could build all that through Ontraport, like maybe via email. Maybe they click a link on a page that causes this action, that sort of thing.
Okay. So where are you getting all these emails from other than the feedback?
So for your initial launch, it is from the people that you're getting the feedback from. It is the Facebook groups. You're also able to actually get a bunch of emails from Facebook too. So for example, an ad that you can do, and there's a couple tricks to this ad that I've learned from one place or another. So even though, like, this was my own ad that I ran, the page that's doing the sponsorship is the best upcoming crowdfunding projects you need to see. I created that page to run the ad. And you do that because it looks like it's coming from a third party versus if it's your own page and it's super self-promotional, right? Mm. So this you want to keep super simple. What the heck is the product? And sign up for a huge discount when it's launched on Kickstarter. That's it. That's all you need.
Was it just a photo or a video ad?
This was just a photo, actually. I tried video ads, and for one reason or another, I mean, I'm no Facebook advertising guy at all. I just play around and experiment and see what kind of works, more or less. This was just a strict image ad. So I think it got people's attention because it had the X and the check mark, like competitors versus mine. And what's interesting is, especially on new products, you get a lot of trolls on your Facebook ads, which is phenomenally great. Yeah. Because the more conversations you have, and I interacted with every single troll, like religiously, right? And what that does is just shows it to more people. It's fantastic. So I was getting about $1.20-ish per lead, and I'm told that was decent. Something that I regret, and Sammer, this one's for you if you're building up your list, is not spending more money on these Facebook ads to begin with, because anytime you run the Kickstarter, you don't know how successful it'll be. But obviously, the more that you have on your pre-launch and the bigger your day one is, the bigger the whole thing ends up being. So yeah, if you're getting in around $1 and change per lead when you do this, go all in, man.
Okay, so your mistake was not going all in?
Yeah, I feel like if I had more people just with the upfront, instead of maybe doing 100,000, I could have done 200,000. I could have done 500,000. I mean, it's hard to say because you have to work backwards, but the eventual, like when you look at what the conversion rate was and whatnot, and for example, I was getting for Facebook leads, which were still a bit cold, they got a little bit of an email sequence, kind of like intro, how I thought of the product. I talked about my dad who has a compromised immune system. The other difference with Kickstarter is people want the story, right? And we can get into that a little bit, but yeah, like you want to warm them up as much as you can, just like any other marketing kind of campaign. And the conversion rate for them was about 5%. Whereas if you are collecting, so the other aspect where I got a lot of people, so say your Kickstarter product, Sammer, is it related to your other products you're selling on Amazon?
No, that's going to be a completely new project.
Completely new project. Okay, so it's a little bit, yeah, you're a little bit working from scratch. But for example, with mine, it was somewhat related. So I was able to dig into the people that, or tap into rather, the people that already bought from me and be like, hey, I have this new project. So if you're not collecting emails from your current Amazon subscribers, you're doing this, I mean, there's many reasons why you're doing yourself a disservice, but if you're doing that, it makes launching a Kickstarter like 1,000 times easier, obviously, right? You have those people ready to go.
Yeah, makes sense. So let's say you're giving the product to 20 to 30 people to get feedback from them. Does that mean you're ordering 20 to 30 samples at first?
Oh, so when you're getting feedback, you don't even have to like give it to them. I'm just looking for, yeah, at that point, like you probably only have like 1 or 2 prototypes. So at that point, I'm just literally showing them either pictures, video, whatever it is. I'm not actually even giving them anything. I did do a thing where I brought a prototype in person back when we can be in person with each other. And I got people's like initial reactions and impressions. And then I used that actually as copy for the Kickstarter page. So I was able to basically kind of show testimonials for a product that people like that hasn't even really been created yet to people, because obviously you guys know testimonials sell things really well. So that's another really good tip to do. So another big question I get all the time with Kickstarter is what should my goal be, right? And it's actually just math. It's very, very simple math. Basically, you want to figure out how much money you can raise on the first day. Your whole goal with the Kickstarter is basically get funded in the first 24 hours. Some say 48 hours, but the more you can get funded, the earlier, the better. If your Kickstarter doesn't get funded, doesn't hit your goal, everyone doesn't get charged. There's no money, right? So people don't want to necessarily risk their money or risk the time investing in you unless they know for sure it's going to be a for sure thing. So funding it on the first day will skyrocket your conversions. It makes Kickstarter very happy to show it to more people. So the number one secret by far to success on Kickstarter is just making sure that you get it funded on day one. And if you have, and it all depends on the size of your email list and how likely you think that they're going to convert, right? So if you have 1,000 people on your list, you need 100 buyers at an average cart value of $50. That means your goal should be about $5,000. And I think 5,000 is a good starting basis to get things rolling. You also don't want to make your goal too low, where then it kind of just looks a little silly when you're, you know, when you're raising money.
So what was your goal for the 100,000 raise?
I think it was five. Yeah, I think it was 5,000.
It was 5,000, and then you raised 100,000.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
How much did you raise in the first day?
First day, I think it actually did close to 10,000 on the first day, and that wasn't expected. I was expecting less. I kind of picked 5,000 as an arbitrary, but you never know once you do this thing. Like all the people that say like, oh yeah, I'm going to back you on the first day. Sure, Matt. Who knows, right? You never know until you actually do the launch.
Okay, and then after the first 10,000, did it just keep growing organically?
Yeah, so once you hit that, and I'll show you some of the funding progress charts too. Yeah, it just keeps going. And what's interesting is, and what I've found, at least based on the 2 Kickstarters that I've done, the Indiegogo one was all over the place, but the 2 Kickstarter ones, for every kind of referral that I brought into Kickstarter, so every dollar that I kind of said to my list, my audience, hey, go back on Kickstarter, it was like Kickstarter gave me an extra dollar from their audience. So it was almost like this 50-50 split of like, I was basically getting an extra 50% bonus on top of whatever effort I put into it, which is phenomenal. Who wouldn't take that, right? When people do the Kickstarter page, a lot of time there isn't much strategy to it. They kind of just throw up images, which is good. You want it to be super full of images. But I would look up, there's an old tried and tested and true kind of marketing thing. It's like the 12-point sales direct response letter. And you kind of want to follow that more or less. And in this case, this is kind of what I would put on my Kickstarter as much as possible, right? And I mean, you guys can see that, but basically all about the benefits, anything that you can put, the testimonials are huge. A lot of people don't do that. And obviously your story, right? This is the passport holder Kickstarter. And this stuff is just when you're logged in as a creator, but under it, here's basically where, this is another tip, just as kind of a floating tip randomly, is just before the Kickstarter ends, that's when you want to make any edits to your actual campaign, because once it actually finally ends, you can't make any edits. So a cool ninja trick that almost no one does is before it ends, I say, hey, successfully funded, buy it on Amazon. And that URL, I actually make it a custom URL through my domain. So if I want to do any funky Amazon URL stuff, I can do that. So, and I get a lot of referrals just by people clicking that button. And most people don't actually do, I don't know why, but most people don't do something like that. So in terms of the actual layout of the Kickstarter, I mean, I would just check out some of the really big ones as well too. But what I would do is, tell them the big benefit. Why are you doing this? Like, travel should be easier. You get all this stuff when you're traveling. It's kind of a pain in the butt. These kind of diagrams are cool. People love seeing like benefit after benefit, good quality. GIFs are really cool too. People love them. Just make sure you compress them. Otherwise the page takes forever to load. Here's something I think I didn't do very well. And Samar, when you're doing yours, make the rewards that people can buy simple. I made it pretty complicated. I had like the passport holder. I had the leather luggage tag early bird bundle. Like it's crazy. Like just looking at this, it's like, which one do you choose?
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do this. What was kind of cool though, I was able to kind of sell my other products on the Kickstarter too. So I actually sold a whole bunch of these, which already existed, which was kind of fun. Some press mentions. I didn't actually get a lot of press on this one or even the most recent Kickstarter actually, but On the Indiegogo one, I got press coverage in Entrepreneur, in I think it was Inc. magazine, which is pretty cool. So, and I can touch on that a little bit later too. So first impressions, people behind the product. So this is, just trying to be more relatable. Hey, we love to travel. Got my son in there. Oh my God, it's such a old picture. He's like 4 now, and there he has like no hair. He's like a little baby. We were in, I think it was Oktoberfest. We brought him to like a big
To Germany?
In Germany, yeah, that was in Munich.
Wow.
Actually, the Sprulings Fest, I think it was, or Strong Beer Fest. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. This is really cool. So just showing like why it's different than the competition, bulky, perfect fit, right? Why you'll love having one. Obviously, it's very product specific, but the more images you put of the benefits. Also, your religion, like what do you believe in as a brand, right? So here we talk about, we believe in affordable luxury, quality first class customer service. Show off your prototypes, show off your work in progress. People love that stuff, right? They love feeling like they're a part of the project versus just you trying to sell to them. And you have to keep in mind too, like the seller or the buyer rather on Amazon, on Kickstarter is very, very different than Amazon. So the buyer here, they're more likely to like stick with you and be a part of your story than Amazon. They're just looking for a deal. They buy something one off. It's very hard to make them more loyal. The people on Kickstarter will really stick with your brand. I also just repeated the thing here. If people read down this, sure, buy some more, and that's it. And then just like a timeline thing. I won't go through all of this too. I mean, this, I think I did a little bit better of a job, but you guys can see it too if you just Google talent tag. Here I made the headlines better, worldwide shipping, more animated GIFs, more images, what it can do. Same idea here though with the features. Sizing, this was actually I added this later because people kept asking what the size was. This was a cool animation just showing the other keys, the germs go in your pocket, that type of thing. I was also very upfront and on with this particular product, like, yeah, you still need to wash your hands. This isn't going to cure any diseases or stuff like that. So obviously regulatory stuff, people behind the product, prototype, same idea. Yeah, and then, but beyond the listing itself, like the most important part is like the video, right? So the video is the small, like the 20% that gets you the 80% of the results. What I've found, and in general, the best practice is for the creator to be talking, or if not the creator, just somebody talking on camera. With the Indiegogo one, for example, it did 12,000. I just hired someone on Fiverr. I was like, you know what? It's mainly mom. This one was a mosquito repellent bracelet. It's mainly moms buying the product. So I wanted to make it relatable with a mom. So paid this lady. She did an amazing job. Paid maybe like $100 and something bucks, nothing. And yeah, she sold it, man. It was great.
Nice.
General thing for the video, first thing, something catchy, hook, like, hey, pay attention, right? Talk about all the benefits, talk about your story, talk about why you're different, and close on a, hey, back my project. Simple, right? Like I mentioned with rewards, make it simple. This one was a little bit better. Something that they do in the software space quite often is they name the tier, so it kind of like you identify with it. So if it's applicable to your product, if you have a family, probably want to buy the family pack. If you want to give gifts, you probably want to get the gift pack, right? And I feel like that worked really well. I mean, I don't have any stats to compare to, but it just felt like the single pack was pretty rare. And I actually got a lot more like bigger orders with this than I might have otherwise. Another big question that people say is like, oh yeah, but if I go on Kickstarter, and I don't have a patent, someone can rip me off, that sort of thing. So what you want to do, if you have a product that you really believe in, you can file a provisional patent in the US. It's only it's under $100. And basically that gives you a year to actually file the real non-provisional patent. And you can actually say then on your Kickstarter, patent pending, legally. It's fully legit. And usually even just having those words, I mean, people are less likely to mess with you. Now, if you raise millions of dollars, people are going to knock you off no matter whatever, right? but at least this gives you some extra protection before you go fully public with an invention or something that you're creating yourself. One of the sites that I've used before, thoughtstopaper.com, they're very reasonable in terms of legal fees if you want something like that. Now that we have the campaign, we have, you know, the kind of interested list, it's time to go live. This is where the magic happens. You want to have kind of like an early bird discount. So you're basically going to email your list, your messenger list, whoever it is, to be like, hey, I have this thing, and if you back me on the first day, you get this extra discount. Another ninja trick that people don't talk about, but it's done all the time, is with these early birds, you can actually keep increasing the quantity available of the early birds throughout the project. So this is basically, you land on a Kickstarter page, say it's day 20 of 30, and it could still say that there's 2 or 3 early birds available. Once those sell out, you add another 5. Once those sell out, you add another 5. And the top agencies, this is actually what the top Facebook, or not Facebook, but the Kickstarter agencies do, because it gives you that false sense of urgency. The way I did it was kind of like that, but I actually legit had like early birds that expired on the first day. And then I had like another kind of early bird if they landed on the page. Because it's a gray area. I don't know if I want to cross that. So, but people do that all the time. And just one of the emails, like basically you want to come up with, you want to be like on launch day, you want to email your people like 3-4 times, but you want to have a reason why you're emailing them 3-4 times. And the best way to do that is make them feel, and they are, like they're with your launch. So launch with them and not like at them, like you're trying to sell something. So you kind of give them updates of the day, how the day is going. Hey, we just launched, you know, we're at 50% of our goal. Thank you so much. That type of stuff. So you're not actually selling, you're just kind of like keeping them informed of how it's going. This one, for example, I think it was the day before, or a few days before launch. And I was just saying, hey, just so you know, we set a launch date. Tentatively, we're looking to launch on this date. I'm also telling them that because like, hey, mark your calendars, right? And I share just how it came to be. So whatever you can share with people will help you out for the long term, for sure. So like I mentioned, once you're launching, you know, go crazy, send it out to everybody that you can. This is where you call in favors from friends and family, right? Tell everyone. There's other stuff that you can do once it's launched as well. You can even do, actually, I really liked, Samar, you had a video on how to reach out to influencers. You can do that too. You can also get, if the influencers want to be paid by the referrals, there's a software service called kickboosted.me. So they can actually make a little bit of money while they're giving you Kickstarter referrals, which is good. And yeah, and continue doing Facebook ads, but use the ads, what you've learned when you're getting those emails and you're split testing, obviously put those into work while the campaign is live too. And this I wanted to share, so this is like behind the scenes of like where the money kind of came from and that sort of thing. So this one was the passport holder. And the big thing I wanted to mention was, so you can see their 10,000 came directly from Kickstarter. So that money came literally from people browsing on Kickstarter emailing people out on your behalf. Like I did nothing to bring those in. And you can see the external and custom referrals are more or less either stuff that I did, right? So they came from an email, they came from an unknown source, whatever it is, they go into that bucket. And it's almost like, 50-50. Okay. And what I noticed with the bigger Kickstarter, similar results, right? $40,000 came from Kickstarter and around a little bit more than 40,000, but I mean, in around that 50-60% mark came from other referrals.
Wow. So how did you feel when you started day one? You're right there on the bottom where it says goal. And then as the days passed, you got closer and closer to that big jump.
Yeah.
To 100,000.
Yeah, it's pretty well. Hitting the goal day one is the biggest relief. So after I hit the goal, I was like, it's good. This is gravy, like whatever, right? But I think as entrepreneurs, you're always kind of like, oh man, I wish I could do more. Like, oh great, I did it. So it's funny. I had a call with a friend and I was telling him like, yeah, I did this 100K, whatever. And I was kind of not upset, but I was kind of telling him like, oh yeah, there's other Kickstarters that have done 1 million, that have done 500,000, whatever. And he's like, dude, you just did $100,000. Like, what is wrong with you, right? And and I snapped back. I'm like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Like, I should just be more appreciative and take a second to chill, I guess.
Yeah, that's so How
But when
much
you
does
have that mindset, you're just always like, go, go, go.
yeah? How much does Kickstarter take? What are the fees involved?
Sorry, how much did
Like the Kickstarter fees?
the fees? Yeah, right on. So Kickstarter fees, they charge 5% of whatever it is you raise right off the top. And 3% is like the payment processing fee. And then that's basically it, actually. So the main fee is like the 5% of your funds that they charge.
I saw on some Kickstarter pages something called collaborators.
Yeah, totally. So collaborators are basically, you can get, typically it's like agencies or other marketing things that you give permissions, kind of like an Amazon, you give permissions to do stuff. So for example, towards the end of the campaign, I actually hired an agency to do my Facebook ads. And they were great. So Samra, this is the agency you want. I think on the next slide. So in general, I don't like working with a lot of agencies. I feel like, you get sold on. I've had bad experiences. Let me put it that way. I've had not so good experiences with agencies. This one, GelUp, phenomenal. They have raising money for crowdfunding down to a T.
Wow.
The only catch, and here's another really cool thing, which is rare for agencies. They only charge you on positive results. So let that sink in. They only charge you when you're successful, right? So most other agencies will take, whatever up front, this and that. With them, they're so confident and they have the Facebook audiences kind of built up already that they know convert, that they can just be like, yeah, we'll charge you on, on you just getting the results you want type thing.
Okay.
On the flip side, they're a little bit picky of what they'll work with. I actually had to push them gently to take the product on, and just because there was a lot of these type of products on there, they didn't really think that there was much more room to do it. And afterwards, they're like, actually, no, we should have taken you on earlier. Like, this was great. Like, they were really happy with it. But yeah, definitely go with GelUp if you could get them. And one of the mistakes I think I made was not getting them to go on it earlier.
Okay. So at what point should you contact them and work with them?
Before you launch. Like I would be in touch. I can give you, not that it makes a difference, but yeah, I can give you the emails of the people to get in touch with, but just be like, hey, I have this coming up. I think just on their website, they have a form where you can tell them that you're in the pre-launch phase, that sort of thing. And yeah, and basically they can kind of schedule you in or whatever it is early on, you're laughing because if they can't get you conversions, if they can't get you money raised, nobody can. They're literally the best in the business by far.
What do they do exactly? Do they take your own content and run ads, or do they make content as well?
So this is an ad that they did. For the most part, they'll, and by the way, I was copying them. So like you saw so this is one of their Facebook pages, best crowdfunding projects, right? So the third party thing that I mentioned before. So even before working with them, I took a look at what they were doing and I'm like, I'm going to try to reverse engineer and do the same thing, because why not? This is the best converting ad. The simplest bloody ad they did, and they do like a ton, right? They had video ads, they had everything you can imagine. They were split testing. This one, bar none, actually like rocked it. And all they do is, yeah, they make the ads, and then they essentially, the biggest benefit to them, I feel, is, so this best crowdfunding projects, the page itself, it has like 20, 30, 50,000, 100,000 likes. So they've collected over the years the audiences that are on Kickstarter and actively, crowdfunding projects. So you're really paying into access to their audience, is what I feel. And the bonus of them, only charging on results is phenomenal. Like it's I can't speak highly enough. I feel like they should pay me for this.
So did they make this photo?
So the render is mine, and then they just put the gray background to it. That was it. So they do have a creative team. They can throw things together here and there, but for the most part, you provide them your assets that you've taken of, whether it's your prototype or 3D renders that you make, and they'll make the ads. And just for example, the other thing to get press, you basically want to reach out to, see some other Kickstarters that have taken place, see where they've gotten press, and then to pitch the journalist like, hey, you guys have heard this kind of strategy before, but you just say, hey, I have this project, this is why I'm different, feature me type thing. And this was one of the articles I got in Entrepreneur that actually referred, it was a few $1,000. So out of the 12,000, like the $2,000 came right from this article, which was wild. And it was literally just emailing the journalist and being like, hey, you covered something similar. Do you want to cover this? The bigger benefit, I mean, if it makes you money, great. If it even doesn't make you money, that's great too. Because then all of a sudden you can put those logos, Business Insider, whatever it is, you can even put those on your Amazon listing, right? So then all of a sudden you got street cred that you're a reputable product.
So who did you email exactly?
So you look for, you just do some Googling for articles based on a competing Kickstarter or something similar. See who's the author, creep them a little bit, and reach out to them. Another technique that I use for getting press, instead of just an email, which everybody ignores, do a quick YouTube video. Hey, I'm Matt, I came up with this product, and use their name, right? Put their name in the YouTube title, whatever it is. Hey, Laura, I saw you wrote this thing about this other campaign. I'm launching this one, it's better because of this. Let me know if it's something you're interested in. Happy to speak with you, bye. That's it. And the response rate you get with that, and the email can be as simple as, hey Laura, I made this video for you, hope you don't mind, something like that. Like make it curiosity, and if they see their name in the URL, if you can swing that, even more likely that they'll click to open it.
Amazing, I love it.
Or ignore you completely, either way, but it's worth a shot doing. So, and then just wrapping up, the last part is after the campaign. So great, we've done this Kickstarter, we've raised some money, we have some from people. How do we transition it over to Amazon and make reoccurring sales, right? Oh, like we mentioned, the Kickstarter fees 5 and 3%. One of the biggest things that people don't do and they're missing out is upsell after your Kickstarter, right? So you get more units, you get more, you can offer more units, you can add more products. And I'll show you something that I did that came up during the Kickstarter that added, I think I did another 3,000-ish for a product that wasn't even on my Kickstarter. And also some customers will want upgraded shipping. There's software tools out there that will do this for you. There's one called BackerKit. It's probably the most common, but they're also the most expensive. So they charge you like 2% of all your campaign funds. So if you raise 100,000, you're paying them 2,000 plus 5,000 of all the extra upsell funds. 5% of all the, and then plus a $200 setup fee. So these guys are just kind of, I don't know, out of whack. I found another one called PledgeBox, and I kind of loved their headline. It kind of sold me. Avoid the sharks with low flat rate pricing. Sold. I was like ready to sign up. So these are the ones I would go for if you don't want to build anything yourself. Super simple, just 3% of funds raised in PledgeBox. So they charge just the money that they upsell, just 3% of that. They don't touch your main campaign, which is the way it should be in my opinion. So definitely do PledgeBox. This is like, you'll get an extra 10 to 15% more revenue by doing something like this. But like I mentioned with Ontraport, it's pretty crazy. You can build like whatever. I basically built this, took me about a day. And all it was, hey, you guys, I need your shipping address. Put your shipping address into this form. And then Ontraport was like, okay, hey, did you also want these extra add-ons? So for example, the product I was talking about, a lot of people mentioned they wanted like a retractable clip. And I'm like, all right, I'll find a retractable clip. So source the retractable clip. I mean, cost when you're buying them in bulk is pretty low, like under a couple bucks. Charge $7 for it. I probably should have charged more, but hey, $7. And boom, you have an extra 2,000 to 3,000 in sales. I think this flow did about just under $15,000 extra in total just from being there. That's it.
Wow. So this whole time your products are on the way to Amazon, right?
So well, in this particular case, so here's the other thing with Kickstarter. People expect the delivery of the product. I mean, depending on what it is, much later than like, they know it's not prime 2-day shipping. You could literally do a Kickstarter and not ship anything to them for like 6 months. And that's almost like the norm on Kickstarter, at least. I know it sounds crazy. For this particular product, I mean, it's time sensitive, pandemic and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, if whatever your product is, people are used to waiting. It's a very different mentality, very different kind of way to market.
Okay.
Obviously, if you can do it faster, you'll get and advertise that you're doing it faster, you'll get more conversions on the front end.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
then you manually send them each unit from Amazon?
Yeah, so that's the cool part. So with the passport holder, for example, I just sent everything to FBA, did multi-channel fulfillment, bulk upload, good to go. I ended up this time around two things. One, I did, oops, what happened? One, I did just another 3PL in the US. They were actually cheaper than Amazon, which was great. And then for the international shipments, I got my manufacturer to connect with a forwarder who basically sent it all e-packet. So I charged people, whatever, $15 US for shipping, and then sent it out with e-packet. Arrived in a reasonable times. I told people it might, I mean, with the whole COVID thing, it could take, a week to 6 months. I don't know, but that's the risk you need to take when you're ordering. And yeah, I let the manufacturer actually kind of drop ship all of those units.
What's the name of the 3PL? Because I know people are going to ask.
Yeah, there's so many 3PLs. One of the ones I like and I use now is Net Direct Distribution. They're not one of the more, there's tons like Deliver and like, there's all the fancy ones. That one I really like because it's like a family run thing. You can kind of like almost not negotiate, but like it's easier to talk to a real human being.
I like that, yeah.
Where the bigger ones, you're kind of like, good luck. And yeah, they were about $1 or $2 cheaper than Amazon actually. So that when you're doing 1,000, I think I did, how many? I had 1,000 backers. I probably had just under that in packages with them, like 600 packages. It adds up, right? So
yeah. So it doesn't really help with ranking your products on Amazon, right? Because you're not using that to sell anything on Amazon.
Right. So not necessarily. I know there are, so you can do some stuff, and I don't know how compliant it is or whatever it is. I haven't done it. But for example, you could have people buy their orders on Amazon and then refund them via Kickstarter. Just as an idea, it's kind of like the search, find, buy type of thing. It's a little hairy. I mean, it's a little messy there. What you can do though for the launch of your Amazon is you message all the buyers, they get their product, you wait until they get it, they're happy, and just be like, hey, we have it now launching on Amazon because you bought one before. Would you like to buy another? Do you have any gifts? Like I love launching the Kickstarters, just before the holidays because it's a very easy ask. Be like, hey, if you need gifts, pick one up. Send them whatever URL you want, and then it does help you for that. You get that initial traction on Amazon as well too. Once you have that inventory.
Yeah. You don't ask them for reviews on Amazon, do you? The people that bought on Kickstarter?
You can. So that's another thing I've done. So like you can, hey, even though you haven't bought on Amazon, you can still rate the review. The review probably won't weigh much, but it does. I mean, it's an easy way to get, go from 0 to 20, 30, 40, 50 ratings and reviews relatively quick, as long as Amazon keeps them. So absolutely, you can ask them too. And yeah, I'm just checking. So we talked about that. Customer service can be a pain in the butt. So for example, the number one question when you have like 1,000 people, then they're all like, hey, where's my package? I built something in Ontraport where they just pop in their email. It spits out a tracking number that I uploaded. That saved me a lot of grief because it's self-service. Otherwise, you might want to get a VA to take care of a lot of that because there's a lot. there's a lot of that back and forth. And yeah, then that's it. You've just done a Kickstarter, and not only have you raised the funds, you got a buyer's list. You've also, seeded the launch for Amazon to start getting reoccurring sales.
Okay. So how much money? That's amazing. Thank you so much for all the explanation. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no worries.
How much money would you need before starting this? You're not really buying the inventory, but you still need money for some stuff.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I mean, it depends on the product that you're doing and what your goals are. So in my case, I've been using Kickstarter more as a marketing platform, and you can do this where I don't actually need the funds raised to create the product, but it's just a great way for getting it up and going. The actual money needed to do the Kickstarter is actually less than what money you would need to launch something on Amazon. Because think about it, you don't have to front. The only money you're fronting really for Kickstarter is some sweat equity in creating the campaign, and say you don't even have to do Facebook ads to get people on the pre-launch list, right? So maybe say $500 on Facebook ads. The cost for the prototype, In my case, the prototype was free because I worked with the supplier before, so they were like, okay, here. But otherwise, prototype maybe $100 if you're doing something simple like leather. I've seen silicone prototypes maybe just under 1,000. So kind of variable, but again, much less than if you were just launching the product on Amazon direct.
Okay. So I have two questions to wrap it up and conclude everything. But first, I wanted to ask the audience, if you guys want to ask Matt questions live, let us know in the comments below. And if there's enough demand, we can do a live video in my Facebook group where we can just interact all together, us and you guys. And we can ask Matt even more questions live and get answers from him. So let us know in the comments if you want us to do this, and we'll hang out one day or one night soon. It's called the Brax Amazon FBA group on Facebook if you want to join it, if you want in it. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. So Matt, to conclude and to summarize, two questions. First one is, what would you say are the things that most contributed to the success of your Kickstarters? That's the first question. And then the second question is, what are a few mistakes which you've already mentioned, but if you want to re-summarize, things you wish you did or wish did differently?
Yeah, totally. So for the things that contributed to the success, I mean, if your product sucks, it'll suck on Amazon, it'll suck on Kickstarter, right? So getting the feedback as much as possible, so much so that I'm working actually to build something to make it easier for, product inventors, creators to get feedback, because I feel like that's a gap in the marketplace. But yeah, get as much, I feel like as an Amazon seller, people are naturally shy of sharing products, sharing whatever, and that's fine and rightfully so. But I feel like in my case, getting the feedback has paid really well. Like I have no regrets on that part. So yeah, making sure that you're actually selling a product that it solves a problem, obviously, and that it's a great product is by far number one. And then, yeah, just number two is building that interest list, whether it's email, your messenger, whatever it might be, like chatbot stuff. Have that list, because that's where you're basically able to promote to and build that relationship with the people, so that when you are on launch day, you can you can go really far with it. In terms of regrets, like I shared some mistakes and whatnot. I wish I did more Kickstarters. I wish I started before. I wish every single product I did was a Kickstarter.
Wow.
I feel like a lot of people think, oh, I need to raise, and this is some of the feedback I got was like, oh, it's scary. It's a failure if I only raise 2,000. It's a failure if no, man, that's still $2,000. Like I had to tell myself that even at 100,000, it's still 100,000. When you're just starting, go for it. You have literally nothing to lose. If your Kickstarter doesn't raise funding, you don't lose anything. You just forget about it and you do it again. And I've seen other people where they fail on the first or second time, they launch it a third time and they're successful. So you literally have nothing to lose, and it's win-win, man. You can't go wrong.
I can imagine. So Matt, where can people see more of you or ask you questions personally or directly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the wonderful Brax Facebook group. You can tag me there, Matt Costan. I'm terrible at sending out emails or anything like that, but if you want to sign up, I have a link. It's microbranders.com. You can just pop your email in there. If I'm doing another free training or something, I'll mention it to you there. But otherwise, yeah, tag me in the free Facebook group, and I'm happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been very helpful for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of people. And hopefully we'll get to do it again in the Facebook group soon. So guys, let us know in the comments, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Cheers.